Ulonkata bati yada tó yẹ kó máa da ifá. Inú tó yẹ kó jẹun ló fi bí pa. Ọba tálá, ọba takuntakun. Ṣàngó, Èṣù, Ògún, Ọya, Ọ̀ṣun. Ìwọ ló ń bọ̀ nílé yìí. Kí ni ìṣẹ̀ṣe tán ṣe nílé yìí o? Ó jẹ́ lọ jára rẹ̀.
Hola, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Bami, and today's topic is sound healing, vibrational frequencies, and elevation. Today, we are joined by our community distinguished elder, none other than Oloye Baba IFA Karade. Baba, so, healing and meditation and elevating our consciousness, our ori, and elevating our energy, our frequency, our vibrational frequency has been it's been a hot topic on the show as of late. We've had multiple shows in regards to how imagery plays a role into the elevation of our consciousness, how meditation plays a major role into the elevation of our consciousness. And so we want to continue to keep the trend going, especially with all the interest that we've been getting from a lot of the listeners, a lot of the Ashe tribe, and a lot of the people in the comments. So, I had a recent conversation speaking about tones and tonality and how music and sound, plays a role as well in regards to healing, with the addition to healing modalities like Reiki and sound therapy, sound bowl. It's a lot of different types of healing going on. A lot of different practitioners are using a lot of different modalities to heal our people. And one of the conversations I was having recently was about like some of the oldest instruments that could be used for sound healing. The didgeridoo is considered to be one of the oldest instruments in the world, on the planet. And he said, but depending on who you talk to and what part of the world, some other people would debate and say that it's the drum. So I say all that to say that either way it goes, both of them are two profoundly very powerful instrument and tools that I feel like is used as a very powerful medium of spirit, because spirit, is the breath is what, pours into the didgeridoo to get it to take action and to heal. And then, but the drum, the spirit of the drummer, you know what I mean? You got to be in tune and be, you know what I mean? Like you got to be in tune, and it has to be divine alignment in order for it to sound the way it needs to sound, in order to invoke the energy that needs to be invoked into, do the feeling with the sound vibration with the drum. So I say all that to say, how do you see the significance of instruments and music in regards to us as a people being able to heal with using modalities like meditation, with using yoga, with using sound harmonics and sound healing and things of that nature? Like what is the significance to the drum or the didgeridoo or any other sound healing when it comes to not only just healing ourselves, but maybe even possibly transmitting messages from spirit?
Well, it's very it's without any people who try not to see it try very hard. People who try hard not to feel it try very hard, and in that hardening they themselves become callous, and they themselves become separate from nature, and in doing so they make great attempts to control nature, and if given a little bit of a push, they'll have no problem destroying nature. Okay, and all the while seek other planets or moons to inhabit, not realizing that if they don't shift that paradigm within themselves, they'll carry that same seed of destruction wherever they go. And we talk about movies, we can talk about Avatar, for example. Okay, so having sound, be it okay, or be it fa, whatever sound a culture has, and from wherever it comes. Okay, it doesn't. It can be a didgeridoo. It could be a drum. It could be a human voice. Okay. It could really be anything. Okay. but it will be nothing if there isn't a connection to it. And who resonate with it first? Who resonated with it first? Who came to understand it before we did? Well, our ancestors. You see, they hold the key to the knowledge, and they pass that on through us.
Sure.
And whether people believe in the beginning was the word, or people believe in the beginning was the drum, or people believe it was the didgeridoo.
Mm.
No matter what they may differ in terms of contrasting views,
Mm-hmm.
the one comparison is that it was sound.
I see. Yeah.
It was sound. And so that capacity again to hear sound, and then how that resonates throughout the whole body, becomes an important statement. And even when we're born into the world from a pre-industrial revolution site, okay, people would sing, people would dance, but there would be it would be a festive moment, not because everybody was just so happy about it, but because they understood that sound would bring that child into a vibrational frequency.
Yeah.
Okay. And even at death.
Listen, I'd be wanting to jump in, but I'd be doing my best to let you get what you gotta get out. I'd be like a little kid. Hey, how they chilling me, raising their hand, he's jumping up and down, and hooting, hollering, carrying on with their parents on the phone and all that. Like that's how.
Yeah, but you're a great host, man. You're a great host. I love being on African Spirituality Experience, man. You're
Listen, I appreciate it, man. And look, I'm gonna speak for the tribe, man. We love you being on here too, man. That's weird.
All right. So what's on your mind, man? What happened?
So, for those who were further along their journeys in the tradition, I know that we know sometimes we can't even get, at least I know from my experience, we can't even get into a full-blown ritual or a ball without the Orisha wanting us to sing to them first. So sometimes they don't know just the opening prayer and the OT and da-da-da. They're like, nah, I think I want a little song, man. Let me hear what you got with my Orikia. Let me hear what you got, with a song for me, man. So there's a lot of this thing called music and this thing called sound.
Yes. Yes. And let's come to understand that the resonating just travels through the ether. It travels through other people. It brings about certain emotionals. It brings about certain vibrationals, and if it's not in accordance to, and if it's not in harmony, it could have a disastrous effect.
Yes.
So who perfects it over time? Our ancestors. When we become ancestors and people read our books or listen to the podcast, they're not only going to hear the words, they're going to hear the tone. They're going to feel the laughter. They're going to come to understand that this is a good place to be. I'm feeling this. And then that becomes the capsule for the greater learning.
That's true.
But speaking of portals, I just got to add my 3 cents. Okay.
Don't thank you, Baba. Throw them threes in there like
all right, here we go. I was back in Boston, Andover, someplace like that, the college and everything. And so they had, everybody go to their rooms because, we stayed in dorms for those 2 or 3 weeks that we were there. I was studying with this program. And everybody had a single room. I made daggone sure I had a single room, But when I walked into the room, bro, I felt that same thing you're talking about you felt in the attic. I said, there's something going on in this room. Okay, I wasn't in there 3 minutes.
Mm.
Okay, I said, there's something going on in this room. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to be here, but what I'm saying is there's something going on here. Okay, so I turned around. I went back to the people in charge of the whole, program. I said, look, I was assigned to room 210 or whatever. I said, I just want to share with you that I feel as though, something happened in that room, and I would like to know so that I can, best deal with it. They were like, you felt something in the room? I was like, yeah, And of course, mostly Yimbos, they were like, why didn't know you, and they said, it used to be a place where runaway slaves would hide before heading like up from Massachusetts into Canada, because that site was one of the spots of the Underground Railroad. And I said, I literally saw, an elder kind of with the staff and kind of doing high knee kind of kicks like he was getting down. And they said, yes, this was a stopover for the Underground Railroad. And that room particularly was one where the enslaved people would hide when the patrollers would come along and try to round them up. I'll never forget that, man. I'll never forget it, because it was like, damn, there it is. And those numerous type of portals are there for those who can portalize. Now, not everybody can do it. Granted, not everybody can do a whole lot of everything. And not everybody would feel comfortable. They're like, nah, this is too spooky for me. You know what I mean? And then go watch Night of the Living Dead in somebody else's room. But it's like, I'm like, I feel this, and I feel it so strongly that I could draw a picture of it. And then, like I put into Elder Reflections Book 1, it's like whenever I feel that kind of grandmother connection going, and being in the kitchen with my grandmother, that portal, that kitchen becomes. And anytime that I'm in a kitchen that has that same kind of warmth and same kind of vibe, as few and far between as those times may be, but when that mindset comes out, my grandmother awakens within me. So I guess I'm saying all that to say the portals can be many different types. It could be, the mental, and then it could be, the experiential, right? The spatial, like feng shui or whatever. You know what I mean? This is the best place because this is where the energy is most powerful. But those elements and more consist for all people. Now, the ones who decide to shut it out because their religions and their practices feel as though that shouldn't be done, again, they still come on it. They put it in their cartoons. They put it in their movies. There ain't no stopping it. They put it in their books. Like I used the upside down thing in A Place of Nights, where Shishan stood on his head until he realized, that he was just too deep like that. He had to come back, put himself back feet first, and then he became a holy man as a result. You see? So again, the connecting with literature, we write from, and I'm gonna get into these when we start our classes: myth, magic, mysticism, and miracles. Myth, magic, mysticism, and miracles, and humankind's reality.
Look, I'm about to write that down. That's something that I got to take note of.
And then you figure most of our religious constructs kind of revolve around those spokes in the wheel, so to speak.
What was it again about myth,
magic, mysticism, and miracles? And once we as a people get back into the whole, re-civilizing and, all of my statements, from before, and rehumanizing ourselves, we can't do it. It's not the blessings of the ancestors. No, it's more than the blessing of the ancestors. It's our embracing of their essence and realizing that we're just links in that chain.
Yes, sir. The embodiment of
the embodiment of it. Yes.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Now I'm gonna take a deep breath because I'm going in.
Look, well, before you go ahead and take that breath, let me share. Can I share something real quick?
Come on, man. Come on.
So I was talking to a beloved family member earlier this week, and we were speaking about in regards to like divination and just kind of like having the ability to have the gift to be able to tap into seeing things that's going on and dynamics of things that could be going on in the environment, right? So I started talking to my sister about it, and we got to talking, and we were talking about how people who were raised, in one light or another. So whether or not, so for myself, my family, my dad's side was predominantly Christians. My mother's side was predominantly Jehovah's Witnesses. The Orisha Bemi side was, I'm going to learn enough about everything that resonates with me, and what sticks with me, I'm going to keep. What don't, I'm going to toss away. And that's been like literally since I was a little boy, maybe 6, 7 years old. That was my mentality of who and what God is. It's like, I'm going to go with what rocks with me. If it rocks with me, I'm rocking with it. If it don't, I'm going to toss that it. Right. You know what I mean? So, that's been my mindset and mentality all my life, So it's like I don't knock or judge anybody for what they believe in, who they pray to, and none of that. But at the same time, I definitely hold dearly and I honor and revere what matters to me. With that being said, my sister and I got to talking about how, I got to sharing with her how, we're unconsciously reverencing referencing and revering our ancestors on a regular basis, and we don't even know it. And I will dare start with about to know my distinguished master ancestor, my boy Pac, Tupac Amaru Shakur, aka Machiavelli Don. But he got a song called "Pour Out a Little Liquor," right? Dope song. He's about pouring libations. Right. When Pac and Biggie passed away, they was assassinated. What most of the hip hop culture was, I was rocking a T-shirt with Pac on it. I was rocking a T-shirt with Big on it. When my grandma passed away in 1998, I got a custom shirt made with her face on it, with a phrase in the back on it. That is a walking embodiment of an ancestral shrine where we are honoring and reverencing our ancestors. The tattoos. I got a tattoo of my grandmother on my shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like the chain. Nowadays, people wearing the chains with the charm with a picture of an ancestor. That is ancestral veneration. That is ancestral celebration. That is the manifestation of African spirituality. Yes. And some of us even know it. Sorry, it was on my spirit. I had to.
No, man. Well, that's what we're here for, to get on the spirit and to let spirit get on us,
Yes, sir.
Because this is the African spirituality experience, my people, and we're going to experience it. We're going to experience it. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Yeye Oya. And when I get to all of it in this podcast, but we want to make that connection of our ego, at least within the New World adaptation, okay, where we see Oya as the Orisha of the cemeteries. Now, I didn't see too much of that in Nigeria. Yeah, so with the Oya essence, though again in the New World, via the syncretisms and via the adaptations, be it the syncretism with another African group, because I keep kind of having to let people know that syncretism just didn't happen between the Yoruba and the Euro Catholics, in the North, the Euro Protestants or whatever. Syncretism went on between the various African nations who were huddled together and herded together, right? Now, so Oya becomes the Orisha of the cemetery. She who lifts the essence of the deceased onto the realms beyond the living. Okay. Our Own, Oko, Our Own, we become citizens of heaven. We become Egun, we become ancestors. Okay. We become spirits. And yes, in instances, we become ghosts. Okay. Until a situation is rectified, and then we move on to yet another realm. Okay, more of that when the classes begin. Now, the power of Oya is basically in Odo Oya, which is the Niger River. Okay, as the French say, Niger. Okay, and we see the Niger River, the River Niger. We see Nigeria. We see Niger, and other terms that kind of grew out of that. But the etymology leads us back to not only black, but the land of the dead. Coming from the Greco-Roman. Again, etymology. So, but at any rate, I won't even say the name means nothing, but the name means everything. I prefer to call it the river Odo Oya. It's the third largest river in Africa. Okay, it's also the largest river of West Africa, because we have the Nile, clearly, with the Cometans, and we have the Congo River. Okay, moving more now from east to west, and then ultimately we reach Odo-Oya, which again is called the River Niger. Now, Oyo, like many of the female divinities, are river orishas. Okay, Oya, okay, Oshun, and yes, Yemoja. Yemoja wasn't always the oceans. It was Olokun first. It wasn't until the New World thing.
Yeah, she migrated.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you gotta adapt,
Yeah.
adopt.
Even like the Obi, like the divination tools.
Yes. Yes. So we kept it going. Now the power of the cemetery, again, with the winds. Okay, because see, Oya isn't always the storm. She could be the gentle breeze. She could be that which carries, that which uplifts.
Yes.
Yeah, like the bird is just soaring in the sky. Oya's like, I got you.
We spoke about that on a previous podcast when I was doing an offering to the Igungun, to the ancestors, and she made her way through with a nice calm. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. That was like,
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a small like.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, yo.
Because the Orisha are their tears. They're all in nature. And going back to your statement is that, we can tattoo the name of our loved one, deceased, on any part of our body. I see that even with some of the young students that I have who's heard so much. But now I'm saying, now you got to live up to that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Pledge of Allegiance. Baba. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, how certain gangs and all that, you got to do certain things, or you got to get certain shit, or you got to wear certain logos or tattoos, whatever you want to call it, branding, or even like the doggone in college, the fraternities and sororities. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the fraternities, they got to get brandings, right? So for me, and I'm sure those who feel or move in a similar wavelength, our ancestors mean so much that I'm going to pledge my allegiance. Like, I'm going to salute you with the honoring you with my skin forever, because that's how I feel.
Yes, yes. I got you with that. I have a tattoo of Arumula's Opa, of Arumula's staff on my, because see, not only am I going to bear the little minor pain of it, but I'm carrying this for the rest of my life, you know. So
All in.
the Egun are a part of the Egbe, okay, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a blood ancestor, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it could be a consciousness ancestral statement, you know. Everybody my cousin. You understand? Whether we blood related or not. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So Oya, being of this river, the longest river, okay, the third longest river in Africa, but the longest river. And see, what happens, see, people, again, as you stated, they don't make the associations, which is the point that I'm making. You can wear the Oya Ileke, but if you don't know about Odo Oya, okay, this mighty river that transports trade, that had cities and civilizations built upon it. You understand what I'm saying? Whose our ancestral realities were the civilization, the Nok civilization. There were civilizations there, and like most civilizations, Kemet, okay, but they needed the rivers, so they grew up on the rivers. You know what I mean? And even when we start talking about, if we want to talk about how far this goes back, we talk about some of the earliest artifacts that they found thus far, or that they're letting out thus far. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Because you know they're going to try to, flip the script on us.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to 9,000 BC. 9,000 BC. And we're not just talking about, people being there as Homo sapiens sapiens. We're talking about civilizations. Okay. And we're not talking about little villages with little huts and all that kind of thing. We're talking about people with canoes large enough to row 80 men. We're talking about fishing. We're talking about trading. We're talking about knowledge system, wisdom systems. And we're also talking about the fact that we don't know a daggone thing about it. Okay. So my whole thing is, when we make connection with Oya and cemeteries, because, that's where we are laid to rest, okay, which now brings into question if we who are in Isese wish to be buried as Christians and have a cross over our headstone. What other options do we have? What other options are we exploring? And we talked about, if we have kinfolk with a house, they can bury us in the backyard. We can even be cremated, put our ashes in a box, and buried in their backyard, and then their home and their land becomes tax exempt.
It's a cemetery.
It's a cemetery.
That's what old boy DT did. Donald Trump. He did that.
Yeah, you were saying, but there's thousands of people who are doing it.
We don't, but see, we don't have the access to the information. And then when we do get the access to the information, are we going to manifest it into activation and actualization?
Yes, sir. But see, this is where the power of the ancestors come in. And this is where the power of Oya comes in. So why should that cemetery that we have no other choice to go into, because our relatives might be Christian, and say, well, I'm his wife, or I'm his mother or daughter, and I want him to be buried there, and he didn't put, or she didn't put in their will that they wanted to be buried someplace else, and cousin so-and-so, whose land, he was going to get buried in, did not go and fill out the proper paperwork online. Okay. So now the proceedings are basically taken over by the next of kin. Okay. But it does bring question into you know, how deep and how far are we going with this? How deep and how far are we going to this? Because you know, we want to better our lives. We're revering life, okay? We're revering living. We're attempting to revere our ancestors who have transitioned. And the next step is to put into motion, like you stated, ritualize and actualize. What are we going to do? Because it literally only takes signing a piece of paper.
What kind
But
of piece of paper?
that piece of that, but that signing could be like, do I really want to do this? You know, really? Well, my grandmother was buried there behind the church and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I'm sure that, you know, all of the love and the intent was there, but that's as far as she could go based on the constraints of being a domestic worker all her life and having a third grade education. You understand? And being Christianized in order to keep from being lynched. Okay, trying to navigate. That's all.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you have a black church, but that's okay. Now, are we doing it because we're part of that, or are we breaking new ground because we're IFA ISESE people? You know, and what would our ancestors want us to do pre-enslavement? Now, remember, we're going back 9,000 BC. That 500 years of being enslaved compared to 9,000 years of not being enslaved. What are we doing up in here, y'all?
Listen, I had a conversation with some young people this last week, and I had to catch myself from blowing the engine, man, because it was like they're trying to tell me about history, and I'm like, yo, are you really like call yourself coming for me? That's what the young people say. They coming for you. I'm coming for you. I was like, y'all, you call yourself coming for me? Like, and it came down to like saying about the access to information and knowledge, and then basing it upon our existence and how long, you know, we've actually been here. I'm like, look, man, you Google whatever you think you can Google and find to prove your point, whatever information you can find. But I'm gonna tell you this. After you finish doing that, please let me know, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't need Google, I don't need my phone. I'm gonna go in my little library and I'm gonna pull out at least 3, maybe 5 books that's gonna shut down everything that you could possibly find on that doggone Google and on the internet, because these are things that have been recorded from historical data that people took 5, 10, sometimes 15 years to put together some of these books that hold the wealth of documentation with receipts of who, what, where, how, and why we are.
Yes.
So certain things I don't really boast or brag or talk too crazy about, but when it comes to the things that I love, or the things that I know, or the things that I do,
right,
I'm gonna talk that, because I'm like, you're not gonna talk to me about this. Not this. You talking about history. We're talking about science. We're talking about historical data. I'm a nerd. I'm a self-proclaimed proud nerd. I mean, a nerdy nerd, bro.
All right.
Run up on me with that? Come on, man.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I had to throw the phrase out there, Baba.
You shut them down? Yeah, you shut them down?
Don't care. I just hope I planted a seed. But I'm gonna tell you this.
Right.
I wanted to throw my quote out there, but I didn't do it because I had to catch myself from blowing the engine. But I wanted to say, don't talk to me, talk to my teachers.
Yeah. Well, maybe going back to Oya and the River Niger, or Oya. We have documentation back to 1550, where Leo Africanus goes down there and he's taking meticulous notes. Okay. We got Ibn Battuta, who's going in and out of the Oyo Empire in Benin, taking meticulous notes. These are scholars. These are not religious fanatics. They're not, part of the army.
Right.
You know, they're just scholarly dudes, man, and they're going in there and they're running as they see it. Now, even when the British got into the Benue with tributary of the Oya, they sent back an expedition report in 1841, and their piece was slamming. They spoke so highly of the people and the civilizations that they came across, you know. So it wasn't anything but Western greed that had them come in and disrupt our growth as a global presence. It was nothing but greed. Okay. It had nothing to do with their religion. It had nothing to do with anything except their intoxication with greed. They could have established fair trade. They could have done 500 other things, but they settled on the lowest. And then the funny thing is that they were all enslaved at one time themselves. Okay. But so much for the heavy hand of history, the irony of it all, you know. So here we have Yanza, and now at any other time we can get deep into the Odo Oya, you know, as this river of civilization made, okay, and the type of people who lived there, okay, from again the Oyos, the Beni, okay, the Inri, okay, the Tada people, the New people, you know, we have all of these people who are like powerhouses.
Sure.
Okay. Now on the other end, when we start talking more about that kind of Orisha entry world, we have Oya as the wife of Shango. Okay. The only person that he really gotta take a step back on, you know, because she's like, I ain't playing with you up in here, fool. You know what I mean? Let's not go there.
Listen.
But you know, and of course the intrigue grows up because Shango at the time was also married to Oshun and to Oba. Okay, not Oba as in king, but Oba as in the
goddess.
Yeah, of the house of the housewife. Okay, yes. She was the more settled one. But we have where Oya tells Oshun that Shango likes an ear in his soup, and so he cuts off on the ear and puts it in his soup. And Shango's like, "What is this?" You know. So they always, you know, crisscross each other.
Yeah, I said there's always beefing.
Yeah, there was always beefing.
Beefing, man. Yeah.
Back to Shango while the thoughts on my mind. You know, well, before Shango was Jakuta, but then Shango. Now the people started to notice that whenever the rains came with the thunderstorms and everything, the river would rise. Well, because of the rain, you know, rivers rise, the winds, rivers rise. And that's how I would speculate that they started to draw the correlation between the thunder, the lightning, the rain, and the river. You see, natural forces at work within this kind of harmony and predictability. Okay, just like we talked about the hunters.
Yeah,
you know, being able to read the signs and predict, you know, when the mating season of the antelope were. And so we just go and chill until that time. But then when they come around this little area and they get to their mating thing, that's when we're going to feast because, you know, we got them. Predictably, they come to this water hole, predictably. So the types of associations that we start to see being made with the Orisha, because at one point we even have Oya with Ogun.
Yeah, I've read that deep back in antiquity.
Yeah, and
relics and, you know, realms of Orisha. Yeah, I've read that.
She turns into the water buffalo, and he gives away the secret. Something happened, and stuff didn't go down the way it's supposed to go down, and
created Ogun. I mean, Shango and Ogun too. That's what created.
All that kind of stuff. But see, there are people like tattooing the name and, you know, just kind of doing things on that first level. I would dare not say superficial, just first, because that's as far as they can
Right.
They
What
know.
their consciousness has led them to, or some
Yeah. Over
gratitude.
time,
Yeah.
we get deeper, you know. But see, these are all symbolic. These are all in part the working of nature.
Yes.
We just kind of anthropomorphize them. You know, we see the human construct in the nature
Yes.
of existence, not just our existence, but the existence of a flower, the existence of an ant.
Yeah. And that's something I got to give you a shout out for, Baba. That's something of why me personally, and I'm sure there's thousands, if not millions, of other people would say the same thing. But that's why the handbook resonated with me the way that it did, because you made so many comparisons and metaphors into what, you know what I mean? Like how you can look at Ifa or Isheshe and compare it to Islam, or compare it to Christianity, or compare it to yogic, or compare it to, you know what I mean? So those are all things that really made someone who's a beginner like myself, you know, a layman at that time, like, and still a baby, still growing. But it made me feel like, okay, I get this. Okay, this resonates with me. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes that piece of work and that project so brilliant. But also, I feel like that's how we tie everything together as a people. We're able to use metaphors and symbolism.
Yes, yes. And dare I say, like every everybody else, okay, we are a part of the global presence. Our ancestors were a part of the global presence. When was the last time you saw a movie or even anime or whatever where you saw African people as Stone Age people? Where you saw African people as early builders of civilizations? We don't see it. We don't see it. The only thing they'll show of African people migrating out of Africa looking very, you know, ape-like, which at the time was you know, a good portrayal. But that's millions of years ago. We're talking about Stone Age, you know, we're talking about beyond Stone Age. Okay.
And they're showing it, Baba, but they're showing it, it's encrypted. It's an encrypted code that we have to learn how to decipher. And because I'm gonna tell you right now, I mentioned multiple movies on these interviews and these podcasts that you and I have had. You got The Immortals is one. There's several, but I'm gonna tell you one that was like, I feel like off the top of my head, which was probably one of the most profound. I mean, profound. The truth is right here in your face, depending on where your consciousness and your, what is it, PBK, your prior based knowledge sits.
Okay.
X-Men Apocalypse. If that ain't like the most realest, most rawest, like hardest movie about who and what we are, that movie was filmed based upon the pyramids of Kemet, ancient Egypt, and the gods having a sarcophagus in there and having a body in there. And the goal was for this god was painted as the bad guy, quote unquote. This is that kind of kamikaze, you know, Jedi mind trick. But this is how they paint the picture: is the god was the bad guy. But I'm looking at like, no, that's God. Like they showing us our real true essence in front of us, but we don't even know it, depending on where your private house comes from. So X-Men Apocalypse shows the X-Men coming together to form to try to stop a god. The god has the ability to literally incarnate, or I should say, put his consciousness inside of a sarcophagus of a body and transfer the consciousness from him as a spirit entity, energy, god, deity, into him, into the body of the previous said sarcophagus that is now the vessel that he is transferring his consciousness into in order for him to come back and rule the world, or to be a god in the world with God ability and God creativity and God power. And I'm like, yo, if this ain't some of the realest ish I've ever seen, like it was so dope, but they paint the narrative as the God is the bad guy. But I'm like, you gotta, it's like we were talking about, you gotta flip the script.
Yeah, I gotta flip the script, man.
If you can flip the script and that resonates with you, then you can.
Right. And we have to see, along with flipping the script, more flip scripts.
Yes.
You know, and coming from the Ifa Isheshe world more specifically, we need to see it West African.
That's sure.
You know, that ain't no slight against the Kemet, none whatsoever. But why is it so much there and nothing anywhere else. You know, we don't see it. And you know, remember I shared with you, if you're Babalao and you got a question, you better have an answer, or you just keep, you know. So that's why I wrote my 2 novels, and particularly A Place of Nights. And people read it, was like, I've never experienced a book where the Babalao and Oya Oya, you know, and all of these Ogun Sula and all of these characters with our West African realities put into literature wherein there was no white gaze. It was all about us. And when Baba Faloye, who's the diviner in the novel, when he sat down to divine, it was like, we are really here. We are really experiencing a divination. And it's not no hocus pocus spooky stuff and, oh, they doing a reading, you know, da, 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 da. No, it's like, this is part of our culture. This is how we consult. And then we share with counsel. And then we reach, you know, we determine what we're going to do as a result. You know, and so I'm like, well, if it's not there, then I can't keep looking for Hollywood to do it. You know, I have to do it. And I try to encourage even, you know, my young students to, you know, tap into their creative writing abilities. You know, they're 16, 17 years old. Next thing you know, they'll be going to be 24, 25, 37, 38. You understand? But then, you know, you got to keep writing. Okay. They all came in with their Halloween garb on today, and of course I was just kicking it with them, you know. And I told them I had treats for them, and they were like, "What, Prof? You got treats for us?" And I said, "Yeah, you know, I got it all in this bag here." So I pulled the bag out, and of course they was ready. They was like, "Yeah, we getting some candy right now." I said, first of all, y'all too old for the candy. I'm appreciating to make the costuming. I'm getting into it because y'all went all out, you know. But here's the treat I have for you. And I pulled out a test. And of course they were cracking up because they know me, you know, predictably unpredictable. But the test was a learning exercise. And in that learning exercise, they had a portion of a story. And the story was written by Richard Wright out of his piece called Black Boy. And it was the kitten. The boy's father tells him to kill the damn cat, you know, because the cat meowing, the dad is tired, you know, he got a few beers in him. And he's like, you know, just kill the thing. And then I chopped the story off. And then they had to write the rest of the story. Okay. And what they came up with was magnificent. And yeah, it was hard. Well, it's Halloween, but you see, you capture imagination and you put into the hands of the future, okay, abilities and how to kind of go deep and to wrestle with the constrictions and ultimately defeat them. So their creative genius comes out, their ancestral bearing comes out, their description of self and situation comes out. You see, it's all ancestral work. It's all ancestral work. And then when I become an ancestor, some of them going to remember old Professor Karade, who had us doing the wildest stuff, but learning from the max, you know, in this urban environment, this ghetto, all right, that has become an Ile. You see? So you got to take into accord what's happening. But see, that's part of the ancestral transference. And then what's the purpose? To bring out the genius, to bring the ashe. Ultimately. Other than that, we just, you know, just dancing around the fire. What are we concretely doing? Ancestrally speaking.
Yeah. Man, listen. I had a question, and it slipped my mind because another profound, I'll say a profound past interference from spirit last night, right? So
Okay.
I'm going back, and I'm time traveling. I'm looking at the old, like the very first episodes of the podcast, African Spirituality.
Okay.
And man, like this was so profound, and I'm glad it came to me because I want to share it just to show like how real this is, man. Like I was watching the very first episode, and shout out to HRM, Her Royal Majesty Yeye Oya, my godmother. The very first episode was with her, and I recall her sharing her story and her experience. You know how she found Ifa, or how Ifa found her, and she got to the point where she said something similar to what I was saying earlier about none of the other like religions like resonated with her. It didn't feel real to her, but she said when she first got exposed to ISESE or Orisha or Ifa, she knew that was it. And it was like, but in the process of that, before she got to that part, she said, and it was like 8 minutes in, the very first episode, y'all check this out. It's the first episode of the African Spirituality series. But she said, I was looking for something that was more, that resonated with me more, that I felt more. So I was looking for, Africa, like the African spirituality experience.
Yeah.
And Baba, I paused it, and I promise you, I rewinded it and listened to it like 3 or 4 more times. Mind you, I spoke to her today. I meant to say this to her, but I can feel the energy and the emotions like resonating within myself right now as I'm explaining this to you, Baba, because at the time, this podcast wasn't called the African Spirituality Experience. It was called the Orisha Bemi Podcast. But after the time that was recorded, and as Spirit would have it, as Spirit does, Spirit spoke to me and gave me the title, gave me the acronym of ASHE, African Spirituality Experience. Right. So now when I time travel and I go back and I look at that, I'm like, yo, this wasn't about, I knew it wasn't about me to begin with, but it was like, yo, this isn't about me. This is about being the emissary, the messenger, being the OGC.
The OGC, yes.
Because that phrase was planted into my subconscious from the feminine energy. She's Oshun, but they all connected. We talking about Oya, and I'm having the energy and the spirit speak to me to remind me to share that on this podcast. It's like, yo, this is profound. This is absolutely profound. The power of spirit.
No, skip, man. I'm looking at your ring, man. I'm a little fixated on it right now. You rocking that aunt.
Man, listen.
Now I'm talking about my students, right? Well, one of my little princesses, you know what I mean? She got her piercings and stuff. You know what I mean? We down folks, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
She got her piercings, she all royal and stuff. She just, once I broke through, she was like, Prof.
Yeah.
Okay. So she was rocking an ankh, right? And it wasn't until later on, I noticed. I said, "Girl, you know what you're wearing on there around your neck on that necklace?" She said, "No." I said, "It's called an ankh, ANKH. Do you have any idea of what it means?" She was like, "No." And now I'm like, okay, well, who got that for you? You know what I mean? Because we kick it like that.
Yeah.
She said, I bought it myself. You see your expression? Now, let's say I was a Yimbo or an Oyimbo Yobo. It would have been like, that would have meant nothing. As a matter of fact, it probably wouldn't even have come up. But because I am ancestrally moved, knowledgeable, deeply rooted, okay, I see the spirit in our present, past, and future. So I said, take a minute, take a minute from the story that you're working on, because they got, the school give them little laptops and everything. So they tip tapping away and everything. I said, and look it up, She turned to her little partner and said, she gonna look it up for me. I said, now I got two. You see? So they found out what it meant. Oh, it's the Egyptian symbol of life. And I said, you're absolutely right. So try not to forget that. Because I didn't want to lecture. You know what I mean? I didn't want to get all that into it. I just wanted to see how deeply that seed was going to go, since she already planted it within herself. Is she not an ancestor reclaiming? And she can't do it in a vacuum. She needs the elders who are ancestrally reclaimed, you know, to assist her in the process of succeeding and navigating in this world. This is what the ancestors are here for. There's some deep stuff here today, yo.
Yeah. Listen, and you know what you're saying, that this is something that I wanted to share earlier too, but I got engulfed in your words, man. But it was along the lines when you were saying that we don't have to be blood to revere ancestors. You know what I mean? Like, we can revere ancestors for the sake of reverence. Yes. So it reminded me of shout out to the Tata right before we came on screen or came on live, live with the podcast. The call that I had, he's a Tata. He's a Apollo priest, and that's the one I was saying about, who has the utmost, love and respect for you, man. And shout out to my boy Sonika. But I remember him and I talking about just talking, like, he deep brother, talking about spirit, and I was sharing with him that I have a freedom fighter shrine. I have an altar or ancestral shrine set up for freedom fighters. He's like, bro, what made you think about that or do that? I'm like, man, listen. I look at it like the way spirit works for me. I don't feel like my spirit is exclusive or isolated from other spirit. You know what I mean? And I feel like if we're talking about spirit, which we are, there is no separation or preparation between spirit and spirit. So any spirit can connect, kind of like Bluetooth technology. You know, you know what I mean? Or Wi-Fi, even, So and that all came from us, the mind of a melanated, king. But I started sharing with him, like, yo, when I really got deeper into my studies and practices of African, not just spirituality, but African culture and African history, but primarily spirituality, I realized that everything is connected, and kind of like what you said, it's not just Ifa, it's not just the Fa, it's not just voodoo, what I'm saying? It's all connected. Right. So I'm like, if that energy is like what I consider to be like the pinnacle of energy, and I know that energy is boundless, it's infinite. There is no cap. There is no way to contain energy. It always is, it always was, and it always will be.
Yes, sir.
No matter where the energy is.
Yes.
So let's just take this vessel that I'm in now. The vessel might not be here forever, but the energy is infinite. It'll always remain, right? Yeah. So I look at the ones who I felt like their energy was the most influential and the most powerful and profound in regards to us as a people, and how that energy resonated with me. So for me personally, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a shrine, and I'm gonna call it my Freedom Fighter Shrine. And so what I did is I put together an ancestral shrine that was pretty much created out of all of our freedom fighters, or at least a few of them that really resonated with me. And one of them was Malcolm. The other, the Honorable, let me say it right, the Honorable Alhaj Malik El Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X.
Yes.
The other one was the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. The other one was Dr. Delbert Blair. And the other one was Tupac Amaru Shakur. Spirit purposely kind of resonated within me to create that particular shrine, because the way I saw it, Baba, is like kind of like what you were saying. There's not only is it no limit to spirit, but also there's no limit to the connectivity to spirit.
Yes.
So if I'm doing energy work, I'm doing healing work, educational work, empowering work, whatever the work is that we want to call, whatever niche or whatever genre we want to put the work that we're doing into, I'm looking at the best of the best, the creme de la creme, because if I'm going to have my energy vibrate, I want my energy to vibrate with them.
Yes.
So when you said that, I'm like, yo, spirit is a profound thing, because my spirit led me to do that, and you can You know how many times I call you or text you asking for your guidance, asking for your
Yeah.
blessings, for your, for your take on things that I do and the work that I do, because I want to make sure I do it right. But that was one of the things that I didn't need no help or assistance or
Yeah,
anything.
you were moved to do it.
The spirit.
Now let's. Oh man, that's we say Jinle. That's so very profound, so very deep. Now let's take that as an ancestral statement regarding the Orisha. Now say the Orisha, okay, came about because people were so moved to do the exact same thing that you did. And these Orisha, having once lived, become the freedom fighters, even beyond the grave. Okay, even beyond death, and their essence continues, and it's the connectivity that is the Ashe, and that Ashe becomes the Abba. The Abba, ABA, is what circulates within us to uplift us, to empower us. Okay, the channeling of the Ashe through the embodiment. Okay, that you spoke of, that is called the Abba. Okay? But without the connectivity, folks aren't transformed. They can do all the ebos they want. They can cite as many verses as they want. They can do whatever they want in terms of reenactment. Just because you memorize something, that doesn't mean that you've internalized it. You see? And that's no slight. That's just across the board. Any teacher of worth a grain of salt would tell you that. Any kind of teacher. It's like, I just don't want you to memorize it. I want you to internalize it. And then once you make that self to self connection and that connectivity that you spoke of, Baba Rishabami, then that brings forth a transformation of the living and the dead. Is there any way that before, quote unquote, technical modernization, that somebody like Alhaj Malik El-Shabazz, somebody like Tupac, okay, and the other two that you mentioned, would they not become within your village, within your town, within your city, Orishas? Of course they would. Of course they would. This is ancestral work on the real, the spiritual real.
Listen, look, I'm about to sing a song, man.
Sing your
Listen,
song.
like real, because I promise, like spirit is spirit and Baba. So today, right? Shout out to Papa P. Today is a newly joined ancestor. Who he gave birth or helped contribute to the birth of my queen. And from the time I met him, he's been nothing short of phenomenal. And this is real. Like he's a real one, man. And it's like I love him from her describing him to me. I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of dude I can rock with.
Yeah.
With a dude like him, because he just stand up, just a real guy. First of all, he took care of his children. That enough is saying something to me,
Right.
But anyway, shout out to him. Happy birthday, Papa P. Ibali Matanu. But it just has me just like looking at life and how powerful and profound spirit really is, Baba. Because when we spoke about this, a lot of things came up, a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles came up to try to block us having this conversation, and including last night with technical difficulties. Because I say we family here, so we could be raw and real, and that's what we always going to be with our tribe. But so we had to postpone it and record it tonight. But now in hindsight, I'm looking like it wasn't meant for us to record it last night, because I don't feel like the same energy, the same vibe, the same connectivity to spirit was going to exist last night.
Yes.
So this was divine and destined to be. And it's like I love it, and I give thanks, because with us talking about Yeye, and we talk about the connections to her and Kabiesi Shango. We talk about power. Everybody knows power. Everybody knows warrior. Everybody knows victory. Everybody knows relentlessness. But
Yes.
one thing that I don't know that we put enough focus on is when we talk about connectivity.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
talk about the gods, and we talk about the ancestors. We
Mhm.
talk about the Egungun. We talk about the Egbe. We talk about the Shango in antiquity to Jakuta. We talk about Yeye Oya and her being attributed to one of the largest water, only two vessels on the planet.
Yeah.
But we also have to talk about the emergence of the rose that grew from concrete,
Yeah.
which is the shell of a person that holds the spirit of the soul of the man or womb man.
Mhm.
It's in this shell that's created that goes into the ground when the spirit that housed that shell returns to the essence of Wanile.
Mhm.
But when we talk about the rise and the transformation, we talk about coming from the sky,
Yeah.
tribute to Yeye Oya, the air, the
Mhm.
hurricanes, the strength, the power.
Yeah.
But we also incorporate one of the most profound and most powerful universal attributes of connectivity and creation. We
Mhm.
have to talk about the lightning bolt.
Mhm.
If I'm not mistaken, Baba, please correct me because I know that you would know this better than I do.
No, just
It's
conversation.
not lightning a major, very, 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 very powerful source of electricity?
Most definitely.
Do we not need electricity for us to do almost
Everything.
anything that we're doing?
Everything that we do.
So right now we're talking about connectivity,
Yes.
and we're talking about those who passed away, transitioned, or transformed, who some would call dead. And we're talking
Mhm.
about those of us who are quote unquote alive, or those who are still formed,
Mhm.
celebrating, honoring, and reverencing those who said or
Yeah.
transitioned or died or transformed.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Talking about a cycle,
The
circular,
Yes.
reciprocity.
Yes.
But more than anything else, Baba, we're not talking about connectivity.
Yeah. And we can't talk about connectivity if we don't talk about those things, because people have to know what they're connecting to. You know what I mean? So it's like, which side of the coin is this the side of the coin? Well, both sides of the coin are the sides of the coin. Okay. So what we've primarily done is we set the stage,
Mm.
because we highlighted the ashe, if you will, of ancestral reverence. Okay. Um, and we could remind folks that there were times when we buried our dead right in our homes. Okay, that was not uncommon, right? And this whole thing about cemeteries really didn't come about until 19th century or so. Especially in this country, because the powers that be figured out ways to get property tax. And they couldn't have everybody doing cemeteries, so they made it you have to be buried in this plot of land. And then there was a time when those cemeteries were segregated. you know so the rise and fall of cemeteries. But the whole thing is, we would keep our ancestors close to us. you know they'd be buried close to our homes, before we became overly Europeanized. And during enslavement, you think they took dead slaves and buried them in the daggone cemetery? No, you got mass graves, bro. You got mass graves happening. But so much for the horrors of the disconnect, and the pains of death, as opposed to the connectivity to death.
Mm.
Because when you see your people being slaughtered and killed horribly and not revered and not buried ceremonially, you understand, to tighten that connectivity, to keep it apart. The little child is seeing this, you know, they're much in the same way that you take a young one to a funeral, you know, now they start to make connections, you know, with their religion, with their emotions, with how they're figuring this thing out, and what they subconsciously start to feel as though it's going to happen to them, because that's all they know, you know. But we've seen people killed in the battleground, you know, or at sea. You just put them in a casket and push them in the water. You know what I mean? You know, but we try to do something ceremonially or ceremoniously to keep that connectivity that you're speaking about. You know, but again, we have to know what we want our people to connect to and with. And perhaps this is where Oya and Shango become the conduits of that connectivity that you mentioned. It's through them that we come to understand that they are portals, going back to your word, to the connectivity of our ancestral bearing. Oh, you feeling me?
Kabiesi.
No.
Listen, man, listen. Yeah, I'm feeling you, Baba. I feel like picking up a house. I'm feeling you. Like, that's how I'm feeling you. And real quick, too, back to the X-Men thing, because this is being recorded on Halloween. So, I want to share, like, with those who are familiar with the X-Men franchise, every time you look at the character Storm, you're looking at the actual personification of Yeye Oya.
Yes.
Every time you see the Storm, that character, that's really our Yeye.
Right. And when you read A Place of Nights, War and Resurrection,
yes, sir,
you're going to see a character in there, a powerful female warrior by the name of Oya. All right. And she does not play, neither night nor day. What more can I say?
So be it, it is done. Ashe.
Oya is deep. Battles to the end. She's Umbu's right hand, left hand, right foot, left foot. He can't move balance without her. Because he's the Shango manifestation in the novel. And together, they not only make war, but they make love. They make love. And I wanted to emphasize that one chapter. You just don't fall in love. You make love. You know?
Say it again for the people in the back, Baba.
You make love like Shango and Oya. As they say, you know, they're equal on the battlefield, you know, and they're equal in their intent.
Yeah. This was amazing. I ain't gonna lie. Like this man, listen. This was amazing. Like, for real, Baba. Like for real, because I'm just thinking like how we got into it. We got into the show, but I feel like, I don't know at what point, but like midway through, man, I felt like the show and the Orisha and Spirit and the Egungun got into us, and they took over. And it was like, yo, it really paraphrased your quote where, you know, I'm just the drum.
Hey, I'm just a drum, baby. I'm just a drum. The ancestors are playing me, and they rocking it, you know. And I'm like, okay, all right, Spirit, dance. You know what I mean? Sing, rejoice, let your voice be heard.
That's it.
And then let's bring forth creation. All right. So we want to present Oya with pomegranates and purple and red fruits, and in honor of Oya internally, I've been taking herbs for my lungs, you know, for the air, the psychic ability based on the air that I breathe, the stamina that comes from one's ability to, you know, tough it out and all that comes from not being short of breath. You know what I mean? So working on your breathing exercises, qigong, pranayama, short, sprints or whatever. uh,
Mhm.
Again, taking herbs and foods that kind of lend to your breathing capacity. All right. And we give homage to the air inside of us.
Gotcha.
you know
Yep.
and then again, we make the offerings, be they ebos or adimu.
Gotcha.
you know so that's keying on the connectivity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Nah, listen. This was this was profound, Baba. Like I don't even know. Like, yeah. This was yeah.
Yeah, well,
Kapiensi, Yeye Yansa, Gungun. Like this was spirit was
yes.
spirit, Baba. It was.
Steady up on I'm sorry, bro.
No, I was just saying, spirit was spirit. Like this.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I plan for this, man. I always want to bring the best. You know, I'm
mhm.
going on. I'll be 72 in a couple of months.
Listen.
So I'm like, I earned the right to say my piece. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you giving me the time and the platform to do so, and to be in harmony, with the African spirituality experience. And to all our listeners out there, one love. And I feel I need to give a shout out, to all of the Karade peoples out there. It's not like I don't see you,
Yes.
and I do feel you.
Mm,
Uh, and I
yeah.
just want to say, you know, I do pray. We all give thanks for our existence, you know,
Yes, sir.
our existence, and to everybody else out there, who kind of get this. All right, let's get it. All right,
Yeah.
get it. Let's get it. I got a few more lives to live. They gonna live 7 or 9 of them. I'm gonna make these last two. They're gonna be tough, man. They're gonna be like,
Listen.
oh, I done learned something now. It took me, 7 lives to kind of get, a little understanding. I got 2 more to go, but
Man,
I'm gonna be all right.
and then
As long as I got like this,
and,
it's gonna be all right.
and then you end it with the 7 lives plus 2, and then you're talking about the number 9. You do know the
Yeah.
divine
Oh, I got
divination.
7 + 2 9. Okay. Oh yeah, winning. Oh yeah. Okay. And
Yes, man. Listen. Yeah, nah. This was divine, man. As always, this was.
yeah,
I can't wait to sit back and watch this. I'm making it a point to watch. To kind of just study film. And watching other people's work too, because United we stand, divided we fall, and there's so many other
yeah,
brothers who I feel like doing their thing. Shout out to Forbidden Knowledge. Shout out to Brother Rich from Black Magic 363. Like those are 2 channels that are phenomenal. So if you like Ashe, you'll love those if you're already not exposed to that work. But them boys doing big things, man. And it's like, I just see the work that so many of us are doing, and I appreciate it. It's like I just love seeing this because it just confirms to me that one thing Professor Kaba Kabane always says, one of his quotes I love is he said, "It ain't over till we win."
yeah,
And that's real. And seeing what I'm seeing with the other brothers and sisters and kings and queens who are doing the things that they're doing, and knowing what we're doing, and we just getting
mhm,
started. Yeah, we're here now.
yeah, yeah,
We're here now. So I appreciate you,
yeah,
Baba. I appreciate
yeah.
all the energy exchanges from you, the
Right.
Karate Nation, all the Ashe tribe, like everybody who showing love and who's
Yeah.
rocking with us, yo. I see y'all. I appreciate y'all too, and we just getting started.
But
Yeah.
it takes a number of tribes to become the pillars of the civilization that
Yes, sir.
that create the culture
Yes,
and
sir.
and uphold the culture.
The right way.
And I move to say, for you people who are like into the Marindi Lagoon, you know, 9 miles up kind of thing. You got to, Osameji, for the bobbers and ears out there, number 10, Ogunda, Osa, Ikao Turapun, or Toriete, or Sheofun. So we have Osa, where we have Oya speaking loudly, and wherever Shango is, like in Obara Meiji, and any combination thereof, okay, you're going to, feel the winds, be it a whisper, you know, or freaking hurricane. You know what I mean? But storm is coming, and those storms are to bring about change and transformation. So, we want to key in on those Odu as we work towards our podcast on Dafa and the upcoming classes.
That's right.
Okay, so I just wanted to close with that, power of the Odu and Oya and Shango representing, and of course Shango and Otorapun. Okay, so we want to keep all of this ready because I used to do this just for a little bit,
Kabiese.
But I'm like you do, babe. We're gonna make it do what it do.
Yeah. So we'll start, kind of talking about the Odu, and then how you can, especially for those of you who are just kind of starting off, and even those of you who've been in it for a while, because nobody knows the grains of sand, upon the earth.
Nobody knows everything.
Yeah. Again, as Otorapun Meiji speaks, So we'll find ways to the connectivity. Okay.
Sure.
All
right. Well, there we have it. So look, I gotta bring me some mics to be over here because I'm gonna start dropping them. Listen, I got enough of them. I got a few I could just use. Just drop. That was a mic drop for sure, man.
But we are progressing, man. Our podcast, watching from day one, at least with me, up until what we got one now, 1.4K. We're looking at 1.5K, and this is all an indication that people are leaning in, they're hearing us, they're feeling us. And it's like, they're kicking it, but the knowledge is something that, where my notebook? You know what I mean? You ain't by yourself, man. I got
because because
we're all still learning, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing, and
it is. Yeah.
Egun, Egun Mojubai Bae, Egun Mojubai Bae, Egun Bobo Mojubai Bae, Egun Bobo Mojuba Ibaye.
I say, oh. Yeah, that's it. I ain't even trying to follow after that. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode. This has been another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Bemi. Shout out to Oloye Baba IFA Karade, our legendary, iconic community elder that, it is what it is. It was what it was. It's going to always be what it's supposed to be, man. We love you. We appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all for rocking with us, man. We're just getting started. We're moving in the right direction, man. So we're going to keep it going, keep it great, man. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to make it do what it do. So please like, share, and subscribe. And this has been another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I'm your host, Orisha Bemi. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see y'all on the next one. We out. Peace.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and praise your